Let's go ahead and continue this compare and contrast. May Pack, Shane Mosley performance. Who do we give more credit to for their victory over Sugar Shane Mosley? Who takes the lion's share of the credit? Now, as we know, Shane Mosley had been beaten before he fought any of these two guys, obviously, right? Vernon Forrest defeated him for the welterweight championship of the world years before that. Mosley had lost to Winky Wright twice. So Mosley wasn't exactly, this, and he had lost to Miguel Cotto as well, right? So he had lost before. However, Shane Mosley was to be a sacrificial lamb when he fought Antonio Margarito, ended up knocking out and dominating Antonio Margarito, who was busted for trying to use loaded hand wraps, right? And Shane Mosley, after that victory, was actually scheduled to fight Andre Berto, which would have been an interesting matchup to watch. This was going to be a year after his fight with Margarito. That fight got canceled, and Mosley then ended up signing to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr. So about a year and a half after he fought Margarito, he was scheduled to face Floyd Mayweather Jr. Right, the best pound for pound fighter. I think most places had actually Pacquiao at that time as the best pound for pound, but nonetheless, 1-2, what have you. Right now, Floyd Mayweather Jr. obviously, people like to say he fought Mosley coming off a big victory over Antonio Margarito. But it's not like it happened a couple months later. It was a year and a half. There was a long layoff there. All right? So we got to keep that in mind. However, when the fight started, ding ding, Shane Mosley and Floyd had a pretty competitive first round. Most gave it to Floyd. But in the second round, Shane Mosley hurt Floyd Mayweather Jr. He hurt him pretty bad. Right? Mayweather did a good job trying to hang on, surviving, and he actually pressed forward and used an offense as his defense in that second round to survive it. And he actually closed the last minute of that second round strong, right? Mosley, that's the most hurt Floyd Mayweather Jr. ever was, from what I could recall, right? You got the Chop Cordy fight, of course, but I think that's the closest Floyd has ever come to losing in that fight. But rounds 3 and on, Mayweather started to tee off on Mosley, and the further and further the fight went, the more lopsided each round kept getting. Mayweather started to just dominate the fight, to punish. He started to punish Shane Mosley. Embarrassed Shane Mosley. Won a clear, unanimous, dominating, decision. No doubt about it. Remove the second round, 11 rounds that you could give to Floyd. Round 1 was a little competitive, so it is what it is, right? Let's change that to the fight that Manny Pacquiao had with Shane Mosley. After his defeat at the hands of Floyd Mayweather Jr., Shane Mosley actually moved back up to 154 to face Sergio Mora in what is probably the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. It's probably the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. It was actually a headline of a pay-per-view. Canelo was actually in the undercard of that fight, fought Baltimore. But anyway, it was terrible. After that fight, Bob Arum went on record. In fact, I even think Freddie Roach went on record to say, we don't want to fight Mosley. Mosley's clearly out of it. Mosley's clearly no longer in the mix, right? And that was just something that they put out there. Now, conveniently, once Mosley was no longer signed with Golden Boy, went out to sign with Top Rank to make the fight with Pacquiao happen, all of a sudden Mosley was a very good candidate as an opponent for Manny Pacquiao. This is just the way the events played out, right? Manny Pacquiao went on to face Shane Mosley, knocked down Shane Mosley in the third round, did not finish him, but he knocked him down went on to win a pretty clear unanimous decision. Mosley had his few and far between moments, but it was clear that Manny Pacquiao outclassed and dominated the fight. Now Mosley claims, his only claims, that he was injured in both fights, in the Mosley, in the Mayweather fight and in the Manny Pacquiao fight, right? So take that for what it's worth. With that said, who am I going to give the nod to? Who gets more credit for the victory over Shane Mosley? Well, I mean, let's compare and contrast here. Mosley arguably almost knocked out Floyd in the second round. Pacquiao knocked down Shane Mosley and never had a moment in the fight where it looked like he was about to get knocked out. So you got to put that in Manny Pacquiao's favor, right? Also, they both dominated the fight. Although I would argue that Mayweather from rounds 3 and on did it a little more effortlessly than Pacquiao. I'm not saying, you know, Pacquiao was in this big competitive fight or nothing. He clearly dominated the fight, right? But it just looked to me like Mayweather did it more effortlessly. But with all that said, who would I give the nod to? I gotta give this to Mayweather by a unanimous decision, right? I gotta give it to Floyd. Using hindsight, I think Mosley was basically the same fighter when he fought both guys. The difference was that maybe Mayweather thought there was a slippage. Manny Pacquiao knew there was a slippage, and there's a difference, right? There's a big difference there, and I think that is the main thing to really look at, right? And I think, you know, for the most part, both guys, I mean, did a great job, a great number on Mosley. They both had a great performance against Mosley. Manny Pacquiao supporters are going to say, look, our guy didn't almost get knocked out. The point is Mayweather didn't get knocked out, and he more than made up for it for the following 10 rounds, right? So we got to, that can't dictate everything, right? But with that said, I'm going to give it to Floyd, man. I'm going to give it to Floyd, and I also, I mean, you got to put all the pieces together. You got to weigh. You gotta weigh it in. You know, it's not like if Pacquiao would have like just dismantled Mosley, knocked him out in the 4th round, and just per that performance, then I gotta like give it to him, right? But no one's like running away with it here. So the factors that, you know, don't play out in other scenarios play out here. Meaning, yeah, Mayweather did it first. There was a little more of a known. Mosley. Now I know what a lot of people are going to say, and fair enough, because everything is coming full circle, right? A lot of the pros and the cons are on the table in every compare and contrast of every, you know, notable, you know, or not just notable, but just any other similar opponents, right? But when you weigh it in, you got to weigh in the performance that each guy had along with the factors and the circumstance, right? Here, it's not, I can't really say Manny just blew away Shane Mosley. That's not a factor here, right? Like, it's just, you know, with Mosley coming off a high when he faced Floyd and a low when he faced Pacquiao, it's not like Pacquiao doesn't have a performance to make up for it, right? That's what I'm saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to give the nod, a close unanimous decision to Mayweather to get more credit for his victory over Shane Mosley than Manny Pacquiao will. Okay? That's my verdict. Peace out. Hey guys, a quick disclosure to finish this video real quick. Quick disclosure. Alright? Feel free to debate in the comment sections, but please keep it professional. Right? I don't need people threatening to kill other people and all that shit. Right? Grow the hell up. It's only boxing. And what I'm giving you here is just my sincere opinion. Okay? You have your opinions, and you're more than welcome to post your opinions. Okay? That's all I got to say. Peace out. This is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing.